Picture a silent room. Heavy curtains, velvet walls, gold everywhere. Guards standing still like statues. And in the center, sitting on a throne made of wood, iron, and ego. The king. The one who decides who eats, who starves, who lives, who gets their head chopped off. Around him, a sea of bowing courtiers, all measuring every word like it might cost them their lives. No one dares to breathe wrong. Except one man. He walks in with bells on his hat, a crooked smile, clothes too colorful for this serious place. And without bowing, without asking permission, he stares at the king and says, "Your Majesty, your crown looks heavy today. Perhaps your conscience is adding weight." Silence. You could hear a pin drop. One courtier chokes, another turns pale. And then, the king laughs, loud, genuine. The tension vanishes, the room breathes again, and that one man, the only one allowed to mock the king and live, grins like it's all part of the plan. That, my friend, was no fool. That was the court jester. And if you think he was just some medieval clown, you're about to learn the truth behind one of the most dangerous, brilliant, and misunderstood jobs in history. To be called a fool sounds like an insult, a joke. But in the Middle Ages, that word carried more weight than you think. The jester was far more than entertainment, and he was the pressure valve of an entire kingdom, a walking paradox. A man who looked ridiculous on purpose and to say things no one else could say. In a society built on hierarchy, where questioning the king meant death, the jester was the only person in the room with permission to laugh. And not just laugh, but make others laugh too. Even when the situation was deadly serious. But to hold that position, to keep that privilege, you had to be more than funny. You had to be smart, observant, emotionally sharp, sometimes even cruel. The jester wasn't just comic relief. He was political strategy, human therapy, and state commentary wrapped in bells and riddles. And we're not talking about fairy tales. These were real people with real influence. Take Triboulet, the jester of King Francis III of France. He insulted nobles, mocked bishops, and whispered clever truths into the ear of one of the most powerful kings in Europe. Legend says that after offending a powerful duke, Triboulet was sentenced to death. But he pleaded for the right to choose how he would die. The king, amused, agreed. Triboulet replied, "Then I choose to die of old age." The king laughed. Sentence revoked. That's the level of wit we're talking about. Or take Will Sommers, personal jester to King Henry VIII, a monarch famous for executing anyone who upset him. Will not only survived, but became a trusted companion, joking with the king when no one else dared to speak. Jesters weren't just tolerated, they were essential. But why would a king need a fool? Simple. Absolute power isolates. When you're king, everyone's afraid of you, which means no one tells you the truth. Everyone bows. Everyone lies. But the jester? He was the loophole, the system's back door. Through humor, he delivered messages others couldn't. He could challenge the king's decisions, question his behavior, mock his enemies, and warn him of danger, all under the disguise of a joke. His words might be poetic, playful, or absurd, but underneath there was always a point. And if the king was smart, he listened. Because the truth, even when it's funny, is still the truth. But don't get it twisted. This job was no joke. Being a court jester was like walking a tightrope over a pit of lions. One wrong word, one joke too sharp, one truth that cut too deep, and you were gone. Some jesters vanished. Some were imprisoned. Some lost their heads, literally. The margin for error was razor thin. Timing was everything. Humor had to be perfectly balanced, enough to get a laugh, not enough to get you killed. The stakes, your life, the weapon, your words, and the audience, a man with absolute power and a very unstable mood. So, what kind of person survives that? Not just a funny one, a brilliant one, a performer, a strategist, someone who could read a room like a book, who knew how to spin tension into comedy, who understood power better than most politicians, someone who could tell the king his crown was crooked and still make him laugh about it. These weren't fools, they were social engineers, political commentators, Emotional survivalists. They knew everything that happened in the court, who was plotting what, who was losing favor, who was lying to the king. They saw it all and turned it into a joke. And here's the part nobody talks about. It came at a cost. Behind the painted smiles and exaggerated gestures, many jesters suffered in silence. Their humor was armor, their performance, a coping mechanism. They lived in constant fear, under pressure, surrounded by hypocrisy. They were close to the king but never truly safe. The loneliest person in the court might have been the one everyone laughed at, because he carried the weight of knowing too much and having to hide it behind a punchline. But the jester's role didn't die with the Middle Ages. It just evolved. Today, they exist in different forms: comedians, satirists, content creators, whistleblowers, people who dare to speak uncomfortable truths with a smile, people who risk being silenced, canceled, or worse, but keep joking anyway, because sometimes a joke is the only way people will listen. And just like in the past, these modern jesters use laughter to challenge, to question, to open eyes. They don't just make us laugh, they make us think. They pull back the curtain on power, expose the absurdity of the system, and remind us, if you can't laugh at the powerful, maybe they're too powerful. So the next time you hear someone dismiss a comedian, a meme maker, or a sarcastic YouTuber as just a fool, remember this. The fool might be the only one who sees the truth clearly. In a world full of noise, spin, and silence, the one who dares to laugh, and make others laugh with meaning, might be the one holding the real power. So ask yourself, in today's digital court, who's the real jester? Who's the real king? And more importantly, who's the real fool?